Okay, so today we're going to finish the Ma'amar Rishon with the Kuzari. And Kuzari starts with a blast and ends with a blast. It starts with a blast of the dream and then it ends with a wonderful blast. And today we will try to find a line that connects the two. Not only to find a line that connects the two, also to try and understand what is the message Rabbi Yehuda Halevi sends at the end of the first Ma'amar. At the end of the first essay, at the end of the first ADL. So we start with a simple question. After we dealt with Chet HaEgel, after we dealt with the purpose of mitzvot, after we dealt with a lot of other concepts, the Kuzari starts with a simple question. Valo, and it's in Kuf Dalid. Valo, Yehudei hadatot ha'acherot ashirim yoter u'meshuprim miyehudechem. You need to be aware of that the purposes of other religions, they're richer. What do you mean the purposes of other religions, they're richer? Let's take, for example, Christianity. Their purpose is what? To God to come to the land. Or to God to come back to the land, to earth. Let's take Islam. Islam speaks on one nation in the entire world. The entire world is united. There's a philosophy of Buddha. There's what? There's a nirvana. There's breaking the seals of this world. What is our philosophy?
To have Mashiach.
Our philosophy is that everyone looks on God and praises God. There's no one nation. There's no breaking of nature. That's our goal, that's our purpose. Kuzari comes and asks a simple question. They have a greater purpose. And even more than that, if you look on the purpose of Christianity and Islam after death, you see what? You see a full theology what happens after you die. Obviously the Islam and the New Testament speak about it. And not only. And us, if you check Torah Shebichtav, there's almost no mentioning on what happens after death. To be honest, it's not mentioned at all. Maybe a little bit in terms of prophecy, it's mentioned, but not more than that. So what actually happens? What we have over here. So then carefully what the Chavel says. He says what? He says, the Chavel answers the king, you want to be honest? The main purpose of each religion is what happens in the afterlife. After the death. They don't really focus on what happens in this world. And then the Chaver goes on. He says, you want to know what is our purpose? And he says in Kuftet, לא כן, יהודינו הם כי נדבק בעניין האלוהי על ידי הנבואה וכל הקרוב לה וכי יתחבר עניין אלוהי בנו באותות גדולה, במראות כבוד ובנפלאות. He says, what is our purpose? You want to know the purpose of our religion? The purpose of our religion is simple. The Inyan Elohi, the God, the ideal, connected to us. Connected to our body, to our flesh. In some way, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi puts inside the mouth of the Chaver an interesting idea, a wonderful ideal. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi comes and says, what is the purpose of our religion? What is the purpose of our ideals? The purpose of our ideals, the purpose of our religion is not, and listen carefully, is not spiritual. Spirituality is not our purpose. Our main purpose is in some way exactly the opposite. Is the Gashmiut, is the body itself. We are a religion not of soul, not of spirit. We are a religion of flesh. We are a religion of what actually happens on the body. Our purpose is an Inyan Elohi, spirituality connected to the guf, connected to the body. In some way, the entire ideal of our Jewish religion is what? Is not Olam Haba, is Olam Hazeh. Is over here, is Kan ve'achshav. We truly believe that we can achieve the purpose over here. right now. That is totally a different perspective on religion from any other philosophy. It is a unique perspective that Rabbi Yehuda Levi presents over here. On religion in general. Religion in general. All the religions, they speak on Olam Hazeh. They speak on Olam Haba. But he gives over here a different idea. He gives over here a different perspective. He gives over here an ideal that speaks about Olam Hazeh. מה קורה כאן ועכשיו? מה קורה מיד? And he goes on. He says, ולכן לא נאמר בתורה אם תעשו ככל המצווה הזאת אביכם אחר מותכם אל גנות אל מקום תענוגות כי אם והייתם לי סגולה ואני אהיה לכם לאלוהים ואניקכם ואנשים מכם יהיו עומדים לפניי ועולים השמיימה כאותם שהיו מתהלכים בחייהם בין המלאכים המלאכים יקראו כל אחד מהם לבן אדם להבדיל בינו לבינם. You know what he says? He says that's the reason our Torah doesn't write what? Doesn't write as if you will behave in a righteous way, if you will be a person that actually does Torah mitzvot, I will give you so and so afterwards in Gan Eden. I will bring you to a place of pleasure. That's not the ideal of the Torah. The ideal of the Torah is if you will behave, what will happen? I will make you Am Segula. I will make you the chosen nation. If you will behave, what will happen? You will be capable to walk with angels while you're living. And the angels will point at you and will say, look, that is a Ben Adam. That is a human being. We are angels, and he is a human being, and he can walk among us. The purpose of our religion is connected to our life, not to our death. Not what happens in the afterlife. And he goes on. And he says, you know how I know? Because there's no religion that puts in the focus one term, as we put it the center of all. All religions put in the center could be the faith in God. It could be the making God one. It could be the nirvana. You put one word inside religion, and this word has unbelievable message. What is the one word we put? Prophecy. What is the goal of the ultimate Oved Hashem? What is the goal of the Mesilat Yesharim, right? Nevuah. And what the Nevuah has to teach us, what the Nevi'im had taught us, that's really radical. They taught us what? Musar. Morality. So look carefully. The purpose of our Torah is what? The purpose of our Oved Hashem is prophecy. And the prophecy teaches us what? How to behave in morality. How to behave in Musar. Where is the center? The center is God approaching the human being and is teaching him how to behave what?
Like a human being.
As a human being. The philosophy had a lot of problems. Talking about the connection between what? Between the God and the human being. Philosophy came and claimed in some way, in a correct approach, in some ways he had a point by saying, look, how God can speak to a human being, it doesn't work. God is ultimate, and the human being is what? Is only a human being. And in some ways the Kuzari comes and says, you're right. But you know what? This rule can actually be broken. Sorry, can actually break. Who is the only one that can break this rule? God. God itself can break this rule. God can break the rule that God cannot speak with a human being. He can break this rule. But what is the problem? What usually will happen to a human being while he speaks with God? He will be what? Scared, afraid. Because when the creature that has an ending meets the endless, he disappears. He will be scared. Am Yisrael, when they heard God, what happened to them? They wanted to die. They told Moshe, "Daber ata imanu penamut." She speaks with us, because if not, we will die. Right? And then what happens? That is the secret of every prophecy. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Yechezkel, what actually happens? Yechezkel falls, Vayipol, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu makim oto, picks him up. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives what? Gives power to the human being to speak with him. And then what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him? What HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what is the big secret? HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Shabbat, kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. Even Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzaticha me'eretz Mitzrayim, mibet avadim. Lo yeh lecha elokim achrim al penai. First of all, the focus of God is one. Because if you learn a little bit history and you know what happens when you say God is not one, and you have a lot of approaches, what is God? Look in history and check it out, and you will see a lot of conclusions, a lot of not moral conclusions. And then, speaking about what? Basic morality. One after one, one after one, one after one. לא נגזר דינם שדור המבול אלא בגלל הגזל. דור המבול had the problem, and Kadosh Baruch Hu judged him to death only because of the Gezel and Hamas. Stealing. At the end of the day, when God reveals himself, his answer is always what? His call is always a moral call. A call to morality. A call to Musar. That is a totally different focus of religion from the focus of who? From the focus of any other perspective regarding philosophy and regarding religion as it is. Our job is to be human beings. That is the main chidush of our religion according to Rabbi Yehuda Levi. Our job is to be human beings, not to be gods. Our job is to walk among angels as what? As a Ben Adam. Not as a angel. Lo kemalach. The only human beings that became angels were what? Human beings, there were two Kanaim. Eliyahu was a Kanai. The biggest Kanai. And he became an angel. Why? Because the Kanaut is not as morality, not as Musar, sees only one perspective. That's an angel. Also Chanoch, he walked in the path of God. He didn't walk on the path of the human being. So what happened? Who took him? Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Midrash says that Chanoch is Metateron. He's one of the angels. We need to realize that. Our job is to be a human being. And that's exactly the point the Kuzari is pushing. That is exactly the perspective. That is the difference also between what? Between us to any other perspective. And how we know that's our job? That's simple. That for this reason we have the prophecy. How we know our job is to be human beings. The prophecy told us. Not only the prophecy, Moshe Rabbeinu told us. Not only Moshe Rabbeinu, but Moshe Rabbeinu, his entire purpose was what? To take us out of Egypt, where we were slaves, and a slave is not a free, it's not a complete human being. Take us through the desert, through the cocoon, to Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu's job was to give the Jewish nation a normal life. Was to give a Jewish nation an opportunity to become what? A real nation, where over there, Am Yisrael will have the ability to create a society that will be a moral society that would teach the entire world what it means to be a moral society. That is the goal of the mitzvot in some way. To train us how to be more moral. We spoke about it in the previous weeks, right? That is exactly what the message that Kuzari is sending over here. Rabbi Yehuda is sending. But then, in Kuf Yud Bet, the Kuzari is asking the second question. עליך להמשיך משל זה גם לצד ההפך. ולדון על מדרגתם של אלה בעולם הבא, לפי מדרגתם הנחותה בעולם הזה. The Kuzari comes to the Chaver and tells him, that's wonderful. You want to tell me that your approach is the real approach. You want to tell me that your approach is the correct approach. But what is the problem? The problem is that if I check, if I look over here in the Olam Hazeh, what I see before my eyes, that your religion is what? Is down. Christianity is over here. Islam is over here. And you're what? Over here. You don't have a state. You don't have a society. You don't have a nation. More than that. Your numbers. They're nothing. That doesn't look like power. Doesn't look like anything that reminds what you claimed about, the correct religion. Actually, it doesn't look like what? It doesn't look like life. You claim that your religion is the religion of life, but you're dead. Your religion is dead. There's nothing into your religion. You're a bunch of communities, as Haman said. You're a bunch of communities that are disconnected, that are isolated from each other. What happened? Where are you? Oh wow. And that's a really strong question. Kuzari comes and says, you want me to listen to you, to believe you. But life, reality, is the biggest evidence against you. Now let's try to analyze carefully what is the answer of the Chaver, because it's not simple. It's not simple. מצאת מקום כאבים, in קוף ט"ו. מצאת מקום כאבים מלך הכוזרים. You found my place where I actually hurt, where I'm bleeding. We found in some way it false. It false in my philosophy. כי אמנם אילו קיבלו רוב בני ימינו את ענייננו מתוך כניעה לאלוה ותורתו, כמו שאמרת, לא היה העניין האלוהי עוזבנו לזמן רב כל כך. If our people would actually accept our philosophy on life, if they would actually accept the meaning of religion, the meaning of spirituality, this wouldn't be our situation. אולם, but, רק מעטים בתוכנו הם בדעה זו. ואם זה יהיה שכר גם לרוב, כי אף הם נושאים בעול גלות, לא רק בהכרח, כי אם גם ברצון. כאילו רצו, היה כל אחד מהם חבר ועמית אשר יגוש בו, בהוציאו מילה קלה מפיו. ודבר כזה אינו נשאר לו שכר לעשות שופט הצדיק. אכילו סבנו גלות זו ודלות זו לשם שמיים כראוי, כי אז היינו פאר גם לדור שימות המשיח שמנו מצפים, והיינו מקרבים זמן הגאולה המקובה. He comes to him and says, what? You know what? You're right. We have a problem. In some way we choose what? We choose not to accept the purpose of our religion. We choose not to accept our own identity. Our own identity means that we need to live. We need to live our Torah. Our Torah needs to be connected to every aspect of our life. Even the peoples that do accept the Torah, they also accept what? Something that contradicts the point of the Torah. They accept the galut. They accept the galut on themselves. They're bringing it on themselves. Something that is against everything we preached, everything we believe. If we believe that we need to build a society, we need to build a society that the word of God can be sound in this society, we need to have a state. Because only in a state we can actually apply all of the laws. We can actually apply the real perspective of what the Torah has to say on life, because Torah spoke about everything. But when people accept the galut b'ratzon, willingly on themselves, with no doubts, they choose to stay in the galut. They took a choice. It's not, he's not talking over here in practice. Listen carefully. In the time of Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, it was not realistic to start a Jewish state. For a lot of people, it was even not realistic to move to Israel. But he's talking now on the mindset. The mindset of people that come and say, Galut, c'est tov. It's good. It's not even tov. In some ways, that's the ideal. Galut the ideal. A person that comes and says something like this, he accepts on himself. So then you are confused why we are so. Why our level is so low. Why we didn't gain anything. The answer is simple. We didn't gain anything because we are not really willing to accept our own ideal, our own philosophy. When a person accepts the fact that the words of God, that the morality, our job to be the light of the nations, he accepts the fact that he will not be part of it, that is against any purpose of Yehuda Halevi says. You can't have any ambition. No ambition to speak on all the great ideals I spoke from the beginning of the book till now. That is our biggest fault, our biggest problem. We need to know. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi also speaks about himself over here. He also didn't stood and leave while he wrote this book. Towards the end of the book, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi left and he got to Eretz Yisrael. But while he wrote this book, he also spoke to himself. His claim was towards himself. He said, there's no passion. There's no passion in building a state. There's no passion in being in the land. Now a person can come and ask, wonderful, so let's do it in Caesarea. Let's do it in Teaneck. Let's create no offense, let's create a independent state, Jewish. Independent state. This way we'll solve the problem with the Palestinians. We'll create a state. We'll solve the problem with the Palestinians. There will be no problem. No problem with 7 Amamim, B'Shivat Amamim. No problem with any person that lived over here, and what? And over there we'll do it. Why not? Why not in the Galut? Lama dafka Eretz Yisrael? The answer to that is strong. For us, for our own sense, for our own perspective, we need to be in a place where we have a claim, towards this place. We need to be in a place where the Torah itself says that it can work, that the Torah itself presents the place as important. If you will come and start a state in Nicaragua, the Torah didn't say that through Nicaragua you can teach morality to the entire world. You know what happens to someone that wants to become a teacher and wants to teach but no one wants to listen to him? At the end of the day, people hate him. Really simple. When someone behaves like a teacher but he's not in school, he's among friends, among peers, you know what happens? People dislike him. People are uncomfortable near him. The only place where it can actually happen is in the place where it's prepared towards to. The only place that we know from the Torah that is prepared towards to is over there, is Eretz Yisrael. There is And more than that, there is also an historical connection to the land. We truly believe that as the children of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, we have a connection to the land. You can't build a house that will be a son of morality in the place that what? In the place that you have no connection towards them. And over here, Chaver comes and needs to admit, you know what? We have a problem. Our kids, my friends, my peers, they want to stay. They say, he says like this again, הם נושאים בגול הגלות לא בהכרח, כי אם גם ברצון, כי אילו רצוי הכל אחד מהם חבר והמת אשר יגוס בו בצור מילה כלל מפיו. ודבר כזה לא נשאר שכר אצל שפט הצדיק. He says what? He says he wanted ברצון. You know what is the way to live in the galut, he says? אך אילו סבלנו גלות זו ודלות זו לשם שמיים כראוי, כי אז היינו פאר גם לדור שימות למשיח, שלהם אנו מצפים, היינו מקווים זמן לגאולה מכלום. He says, if we would understand that we are actually in the galut, that when we right now in Caesarea, as Rabbi Yehuda Levi speaks, בממלכת הכוזרים, if we would understand that what? Would understand that is a galut, that is not our place, but we are over here because we have no other choice right now, it's a totally different ballgame, it's a totally different picture. Because then you understand that your job is not really here. You will understand that your job will not to spread the Torah through the entire world. You understand that your job your job is to build a nation, a state that works according to the Torah in your own state, and you will prepare towards that. But the Buddha says that doesn't happen. Since it doesn't happen, we have a problem. We're down. And even the fact that we are down right now doesn't even give us points towards the future. And he's sharp and he's clear. And then he goes on and he says, אשר יהודי הדתות האחרות שהתפעלת מהן, רבותינו שקדמו לדתות אלו בזה, הם שתראו גן עדן וגיהנום, רשמו דעותיהם באורך וברוחה, וסיפרו הנעימות בזה, ולנועים בזה יתר בפירוט שסיפרו אנשי דתות אחריהם. He says, you shouldn't think that we are not speaking on the afterlife. We do have sources among our rabbis that speak on the afterlife. But, more important is that, in the books of prophecy, they didn't speak about Olam Haba. The books of prophecy didn't speak about Olam Haba because Olam Haba
is irrelevant.
Is not the point. It's irrelevant. What is relevant is over here. Is over here. It's not that we didn't believe that the spirit is independent. It's not even we didn't believe that every person will pay in the afterlife about what he did. We believed in Sachar ve'Osh. We believed in the Nefesh. We believed in Isharut Nefesh. But that is not the point. The point is Kan ve'Achshav. The point is Olam Hazeh. The point is the prophecy. Prophecies at the end of the day is teaching us what? Musar, morality. And now I want to connect a string. I want to connect one string, one line, between the beginning of the Ma'amar towards the end of the Ma'amar. Beginning Ma'amar, we started how? We started with the king having a dream. Kavanatcha retzuya, aval ma'asecha eno ratzuy. And then what happened? Who came? the Muslim came, the Christian came, the philosopher came, and all of them taught him about what? About Kavanah. Listen carefully. He asked about Kavanah, but all of them taught him what? Theology. All of them taught him the science of religion. Comes the Chaver and tells him a practical story. A practical story is that starts with my own family, not with Adam HaRishon, not theology, my own family. He tells him about mitzvot. He tells him about Shabbat. He tells him about his language. What are you doing? The king asked, no. The Chaver was the only one that actually listened to the question of the king. The king didn't ask about theology. He wanted to worship God. That is the theology. He asked it about Ma'asech, about the actions. But there's only one religion that puts the actions, that puts Olam Hazeh, where actions are happening, in the center. There's only one religion that looks at the purpose of the religion to build a place where actions can be applied. Think about how ridiculous it is. What is the purpose? The purpose is to build a nation, Mamlechet Kohanim Vegoy Kadosh, to build a nation where the entire nation are Kohanim, and all of them are teaching morality. Where? In a state. And then they get prophecy. The prophecy is over here, B'olam Hazeh, not B'olam Haba. The purpose is over here. The purpose is the actions right now. But that was exactly the question of the king. Because the king understood that he has no problem with his theology. He believed. He had to understand what? That actions have meanings. And Rabbi Yehuda Halevi ends his first ma'amar by saying, you know where action have meanings? And until our nation, our kids, our people will not remember that, will be terrible. Only in one place, not in the Galut, not outside of Eretz Yisrael. Only place where stuff actually do matter. Only place where you can build a nation, you can build a house, a national house. Listen carefully. It's not building a national house for the purpose of a national house. A lot of European nations did it before. The French, they have a strong French identity. The Americans, they have their own identity. The British have their own identity. And if you will come to a Jew, to a French Jew, and you will tell them, I want you to come to my land, to my place, he will tell you why. I was born and raised in France. I'm a French person. Because of your beautiful language, French is beautiful. Even when you curse in French, it sounds like poetry. Really, it's beautiful. Because of your literature, I really appreciate your literature, but Bialy cannot be compared to Stalter. For example, European literature is rich. Same way our literature is rich and probably more. Shakespeare, as I remembered, is not a Butubu. Shakespeare was written in Britain. Because of economics, you make a lot of money all over. The goal is not to build a national house as a European national house. That's not the purpose. That is dangerous. We, more than any other nation, we understand what is the meaning when a nation goes into a rage of nationality. It's dangerous. Our purpose is to build a national house to apply the name and the actions of God in the world. When when Rabbi Yehuda Halevi comes and says, I'm embarrassed. Why I'm embarrassed? I'm embarrassed because my people do not understand it. They enjoy to be the citizens of Spain. They enjoy to be the citizens of France. They enjoy to like it. When Moses Mendelssohn comes and says, I want to create a society where a person that is the child of the Moses religion, Ben Dat Moshe, does his actions, and the not Jew looks on him and says, wow, he is so moral. He is totally missing. I'm not playing the same ball game that they're playing when I build a national house, when I behave as a modern person. That's not the point. I create a national house. I behave like a modern person as a part of the world in the name of applying the name of God in the world. Because I understand that the only way to apply the actions of Torah, to apply the ideas of Torah, to make the world a moral place. We spoke about mitzvot as a balance between what? Between our own passions and morality, our own passions and stressing our own passions and putting our own passions inside borders. When it becomes in a national perspective, it will teach the entire world how to be moral, how to live in this world. We have nothing to offer. Nothing. We can't tempt people that come over here to build a nation, to build a society that is exactly as the nations left back home. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi says. But I want my kids, I want my people, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, to understand the point that they need to go back to Eretz Yisrael, to leave the Galut, because they want to build a different type of a national. The type that screams and teaches the entire world the morality of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Till here.